Learning from adult role models who are blind or low vision, presented by Outreach Programs, the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind. The CSDB logo is displayed with the tagline, Learning, Thriving, Leading. A woman is standing in front of a wall holding a long white cane. Captions are below on screen. Title, Jessica.
My name is Jessica Beecham, and I was born legally blind with optic nerve hypoplasia, which means that my optic nerve didn't develop all the way. So it's too small. And as a result, I have some usable vision in both eyes, but I really only consider my left eye to have usable vision. My right eye I don't really use. I have 400 vision in my left eye, and then in my right eye, I don't even know that there's an acuity for it. I do read print primarily, but I also read a lot of Braille, and I listen when I'm reading things in large quantities. So when I'm doing work for school or when I'm doing large amounts of reading for work, I'll use audio format to read a lot of documents.
Title, Education and Career.
I went to Tennessee School for the Blind for my K through 12 education, and it was a mixed experience in that I got a lot of the things that I needed. Extracurricular wise, I was able to participate in lots of different activities, and that was really wonderful. However, at the time at that particular school, maybe some of the academics weren't quite as rigorous as they might have been, and so I supplemented that by attending some classes at a local high school where I was able to take some honors and AP courses. Once I left the School for the Blind, I went to Middle Tennessee State University, where I received my bachelor's degree in therapeutic recreation and later my master's degree in exercise science. I have worked as a recreational therapist for I worked as a recreational therapist for about 5 years, and then I moved to Colorado to work as the chapter and community development coordinator for the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. And that means that I get to meet lots of blind people throughout the state, tell them about the National Federation of the Blind, and help to build new chapters and community relationships in different areas throughout the state. It is a really fun job, and my background in recreational therapy and exercise science have really helped me because I can come up with lots of creative ways to recruit people and to get people interested in our organization and reach out to different groups who maybe have some athletic interests that we maybe haven't tied in with or made partnerships with. So even though my field of study isn't exactly aligned with the work that I'm currently doing, it definitely has helped me out a lot in the job that I currently have.
Title, Parental Involvement.
Growing up, my parents were really excellent. They expected me to do everything that anybody else did. There was never excuses. There was never special privilege treatment because I was blind. I did the same chores. I did the same activities. If there was something that we needed to figure out how to do differently, we just figured it out. The thing that I wish that my parents would have known about would have been organizations like the National Federation of the Blind, because my parents didn't know a lot about blindness, and if they had known more and had access to those kinds of organizations, then they would have known that they should have really pushed for me to learn more Braille when I was in school and to use Braille more regularly, because I did learn Braille growing up, but because I didn't use it as regularly in school, I'll always be a slower Braille reader. And I really wish now that I have high volumes of reading to do that I was a much faster Braille reader because it would be much more effective.
Title: Overcoming Challenges.
As far as challenges are concerned, that I can't really think of very many challenges that I've faced because of blindness, and I think that that has to do with my parents always making sure that I did everything that everybody else did, that I've just never known that there was anything that I couldn't do, and so I've always just done whatever I wanted to do. And I think that's why I naturally, drifted towards my work with the National Federation of the Blind, because the core principle of the organization is that blind people can do absolutely whatever they want to with the proper tools and training. When I was growing up in Tennessee, is a lack of transportation. It was really hard to get from one place to another because there was not good fixed route transit. And so the way that I overcame that challenge was by moving to a city where there was better public transportation. I've seen other blind people who I went to school with in Tennessee move to rural areas and really limit themselves by just saying, well, this is where my family lives, this is where I'm going to stay, and not having that flexibility to go where it is that you can live your highest quality of life. And I feel like that is one of the better decisions that I've been able to make, is moving somewhere that I could do what I want to when I want to independently.
Title: Assistive Devices.
As far as tools and training that I use on a daily basis, I have an iPhone that I can have voiceover, so I can have things read to me. I also have a Braille display that syncs with my iPhone and my laptop so that I can read things in Braille. Like I can read the newspaper on our Newsline service, or I can read books or articles or different things like that in Braille or an audio format. I also use my cane and a guide dog for traveling. I use speech software when I need to on my computer, and I also use scan and read software so that I can access text on my computer. I use a slate and stylus sometimes when I need to take Braille notes.
Title: Advice for Parents and Teachers.
If I could give any advice to parents and teachers and people who are working with individuals who are blind and visually impaired, there would be two pieces that I would give. And the first piece of that advice would be have high expectations of every blind person, because we're capable of doing absolutely anything that we want. And the second piece of advice would be, don't worry so much about the usable vision. Usable vision's nice, and we're all going to use the usable vision that we have, but it's great to learn non-visual techniques for doing things, because if you lose more vision over time, or if you're like me and maybe something works for you when you're younger, but then you get older and you have like higher volumes of reading, or as far as travel, maybe you're traveling in different kinds of places that you weren't used to, knowing how to read Braille and knowing how to read Braille well, knowing how to use a cane and knowing how to use a cane well, knowing how to do things non-visually in the kitchen, knowing how to do things non-visually on the computer are all really huge assets.
Title: Keys to Success.
I think that some of the skills that I have that have helped me to achieve my goals have been adaptability and just knowing how to take a situation, assess it, and figure out what I need to make it work. Then obviously, Braille has been helpful. Learning how to listen at a really fast rate has been something that has been very helpful to me. And also, good orientation and mobility skills have been very helpful to me, especially in moving to a new city where I didn't know anybody. Being able to not depend on, just going from directions from point A to point B, and being able to use all the cues around me to figure out where I am, where I'm going, and what I need to do has been a huge asset.
Title: Closing Thoughts.
If I could let people know anything about people who are blind, there would be two things that I would say. Number one is, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask about vision. If you're curious about blindness related questions, don't be afraid to ask if we need assistance, instead of just assuming that we need assistance, because sometimes we maybe just have a different technique for doing it, and we really are okay, and we're on track and doing what we need to do. And if we get assistance at that point, it kind of can throw us off sometimes. And then the next thing would be that as blind people, we can do absolutely anything that sighted people can do. And so there's really more similarities between blind and sighted people than there are differences.
Learning from adult role models who are blind or low vision has been a production of the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, 33 North Institute Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 80903, 719-578-2100, www.csdb.org. Videography by Deb Branch and Sean Levier, copyright 2014.
Audio description, Jim Olson. Editing assistants, Diane Covington, Dr. Laura Douglas. Captioning, Neil Anthony Thomas, Corey McCormick. Transcription, Eleanor Vasquez.